Brad, I think we should start off before we get into anything and let people know that we are not the GM of the Trailblazers.
No.
We're going to talk about some people we would like to trade for.
Yes.
But we don't know exactly how to get them.
We have no idea. And honestly, after like the Luka trade, after like every single proposal I see online for any player in the NBA, like on like the NBA trade ideas section of Reddit, every single proposal looks terrible.
Yeah.
But then something like the Luka thing happens, which
anything
would have been the worst of any of them.
Yeah.
So it's safe to say, realistic to say that we can't make an actual prediction on what it's going to take to get these guys.
Yeah.
We don't know how GMs communicate, who's really going to be, available, how they're going to get contracts to match up. But what we have seen is that when teams want someone or when teams want to give up someone, they usually find a way.
Yeah. And we're hoping Cronin can do some of those. And I think the other thing to say is that, truthfully, and I think all Blazer fans knows this, is that the contracts that we want to trade of Jeremy, DeAndre Ayton, and Anthony, to varying degrees for each one of them, depending on who you are all pretty hard to trade. So if you're a Blazer fan sitting there trying to make mock trades, 99.5% of them are not going to work. And teams are not going to want those contracts.
Exactly.
But what we are saying is that they're players that we hope we can get. And if we can find a way to get them on the team, you and I think they could be good. I'll go with my first one. He's a name that's been thrown around all season long. I would love Cam Johnson on this team.
Oh, really?
I think you just throw him in as another good rangy wing defender who, more so than Tumani Denny, can rip the three. Because you've got, Tumani's offensive game is getting there, but Cam Johnson's ability to shoot the three and play defense, combined with Denny's ability to slash to the hoop and play defense, I think is such a cool balance. Like he's the third guy.
Is he that good of a defender?
He's a pretty good defender.
Oh, nice. For some reason, I've never been blown away by him defensively, but that's judging by like the few games I see him play against us.
Maybe I won't stand on the biggest foot that he's the craziest defender, but at least from my understanding of Cam Johnson is that he's a super solid 3-and-D wing, and I think just throwing another one in there, and especially if we keep Jeremy and we've got these 4 great defensive wings running around at all times, like at least 2 of them on the court together, he would add to that, and his shooting is so desperately needed for us that I think he would solve a lot of problems. I would put in a good fair price among other teams to get Cam Johnson.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I know what you mean by just having, because we've been talking about that forever. Like, God, you just get Klingon and then give him as many insanely long athletic wings, and it's been proven throughout this last season that is a recipe for success for this team. Our best lineup by far, I think it's the 3rd best lineup in the entire NBA this season, was Ant, Denny, 2, Jeremy, Klingon.
Yeah.
Just like Klingon and 3 insanely good wings. And watching those last couple games of the season, running lineups of basically, it was like Matisse, Rupert, Chris Murray, Tumani, and Klingon.
Yeah.
And you're watching like, oh my God, like if any of these guys were not inept offensively, this would be a sweet lineup.
Yeah.
And getting Cam Johnson would kind of be like getting a good version of that type of lineup.
Yeah.
So I see that for sure. Because honestly, like I said, I don't know that much I know a lot about him offensively, but I don't know that much about him defensively. I'm not saying he is or isn't an amazing defender. I just don't know. But obviously I trust you. And that is the word that he's a 3-and-D guy.
Yeah. I think what I'm going based off of with Cam Johnson is trying to judge him more on his Suns playing time than his Nets playing time, because I think you and I have seen with this Blazers team that like anyone can look like a terrible defender when there's 4 bad defenders next to you, and anyone can look like a great defender when there's 4 good defenders next to you, right? So I'm trying to kind of go based off of, I think, what he showed his best of, and I think when he was paired with Mikal Bridges and CP3 out on the perimeter, I think he was pretty solid. Is where my head's at. So if you throw him next to Tumani and Denny, and he all of a sudden doesn't have to guard the third, the best player on every team, and instead has to guard the 3rd best player on every team, I think everything kind of changes. So
Absolutely. And you can just use his size and his length
Yeah.
next to other huge guys and be more than competent.
Yeah.
You're 100% right.
Yeah.
I mean, my dream trade, I think you know this, because I think it's kind of a similar guy, I think, in a way to Cam Johnson. It's the ultimate 3-and-D guy in the NBA, but Trey Murphy.
Yeah. I know you like.
I mean, and this is, I love Trey Murphy. And he's a guy who I think could be he's the top, like, oh my God, they traded him candidate of the entire offseason.
Yeah. Because
who knows what the Pelicans are going to do. Trey Murphy, especially if they're trying to like really rebuild. Trey Murphy's another guy who you assume is like 22, 23, but he's 25, which again, it's not old. Yeah. But like if the Pelicans are looking to like really rebuild and just want like picks, and so like he's a guy who I assume even if the Pelicans don't love getting rid of him, he's a guy who might be not completely willing to go to a rebuild that's completely starting from scratch.
Yeah.
So a lot of this depends on what they want to do, obviously. But I think he's like, I mean, I never would have thought we would have gotten Denny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I knew who Denny was, and I'd like, oh, he's that only good player on that horrible Wizards team from that year.
Yeah.
That's all I know, like the only promising guy. And we got him. I never would have thought in a million years we would have gotten Denny. Yeah. I couldn't believe it when we traded for him. He did very well in a bigger role, but I think he's better as a third guy.
Sure.
I think he'd be the best third option in the NBA. Because even though he had a great season as like a first-ish option, his efficiency numbers still dropped. He had huge games, but like I'm not totally convinced that Trey Murphy's the first option in the NBA.
Yeah.
I think he could be an insane two-way third option. I think he is the perfect player for what we would need right now. An insanely good defender who can shoot, especially if he's getting good shots.
I see the fit beautifully. It's what I just talked about with Cam Johnson, but like even more legit, like to the max, right? Like that's just what we talked about. Throwing another rangy 3-point shooting, and he can create. I do find it very hard to see the world where he gets traded, but again, the points we're making is that anything can happen. So if he were on this team, it'd be beautiful.
Yeah, and I think it's more possible than I think people might say, just because you have no idea what the Pelicans are
Joe
going to do.
Dumars,
and you have
Joe
no
Dumars
idea.
is in charge of where Trey Murphy goes this offseason.
Exactly.
Who
and you don't know what Trey
knows?
Murphy's going to want.
Who is he talking to?
Two phones Joe.
Sticking with the Pelicans, and I haven't truthfully watched him too much since
I'm very
college,
curious who you're going to say.
But Jordan Hawkins is a guy that he's a second-year player this past year, and he had a pretty down year. Someone like that who's just kind of a catch-and-shoot flamethrower.
I was just going to say
whose role would be to come strictly off the bench. My interpretation of him is that he's a competent defender, at least has enough, and this is probably just from his winning a championship with UConn and being a part of that defense. But my thoughts on him are that he's competent enough defender to get by. He wouldn't be targeted like a liability. And we'd kind of be buying low on a guy who's a shooter and would come off the bench for us and kind of be like, imagine him like kind of paired next to Matisse, right? Like you got Matisse's super high level defense paired with a guy who's just going to go out there and create shots and space the floor.
Sure.
Just like a lower down trade target. And you could throw him in with Zion, maybe. Throw him in with Trey Murphy if stuff needs to work. I just say buying low on him because I think he had a down year, and I think he could be on the upswing.
Well, dude, I was stunned to find out based on how he played against us this season. I was stunned to find out that he wasn't the best player in the entire NBA. Yeah. Do you remember that fourth quarter? I'm like, you bring up that name, and I'm like,
flashback.
Remember that fourth quarter he had against us? That it was unbelievable. He had like 20 in the fourth. He could not miss. We were out. The Zion looked so fucking bad. But Hawkins like put up like 20 points. I was like, oh my God. And I found out recently that like he's incredibly streaky.
Yeah.
Which I'm cool with. Like, when we're talking about a guy like Jordan Hawkins, we're not talking about the guy who's going to lead us to a ring. But a guy who could, like you said, be a microwave scorer, a flamethrower, who can get hot off the bench, especially paired with guys like Matisse, Chimani, even Chris Murray defensively, if we're going to keep him around and keep playing him. My next guy, who I just more and more would love to get, oh my God, I can't remember how to pronounce his name now. The Hawks guy, Vit
Krejčí.
Is it Krejčí? I mean, we looked this up, and I've heard Hawks announcers say it. I think it's I thought it was Krejčí, but it's like it clearly isn't. There's no V in it. But Vit
Krejčí.
I can't think of a guy that we could incredibly realistically get that would be a better fit for this team, especially since it doesn't seem like the Hawks value him that much.
Sure.
But this is a 6'8", 43% 3-point shooter.
Is that really?
Who is, yeah, dude. Dude, he's a 6'8", could legitimately be another ball handler, which again we clearly need, especially if we're gonna have keep Ant around, which who knows if we are, but especially if we're gonna start Shaedon a lot.
Yeah.
We need to surround him by big ball handling shooters.
Yeah.
That's what every team wants too, and especially what we're missing. But he's 6'8", great shooter, can handle the ball, can pass, can guard multiple positions. He's the kind of guy, but clearly there's something I feel like I'm missing about him.
Right.
Because he barely played in their playing game, so obviously the Hawks don't incredibly value him. But dude, there's been so many games that I watch where I'm like, he looks incredible. But I like looking up what fans say about players.
Yeah.
Fans like him a lot.
Sure.
The Hawks fans like him a lot. When he looks good, he looks great. And I think, in theory, he would fit so beautifully on this team as, again, being like an amazing third wing defender, a guy who can clearly shoot, a guy who will, address our shooting needs.
Mm-hmm.
Peak him is like 12 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, shooting 40% from 3.
Yeah.
A guy who you can play in multiple lineups. I think he would fit beautifully next to Shaedon because, like I said, if we're gonna have a great defense with Shaedon Sharpe in it, which I think is possible, but Shaedon has to be the only bad defender on the team. Same can be said for Ant.
I'm wondering if that's maybe his downfall is defense.
I've heard he's a good defender.
Then I don't see if he's a good defender and he shoots like that, I don't really care what else. Maybe he can't dribble or something. Like
No, he can. I watch all these games. He can pass. He can handle. Like he makes great plays. But maybe he doesn't do it consistently. That sounds like it might be the issue. So maybe he's a guy you can't trust.
But that's a swing. That's a swing we're in a position to afford to take, and he fits the mold that we're talking about. Trey Murphy and Cam Johnson. I mean, there's the theme we're talking about, right? Is that just load us up with one or two more, because that's what Jeremy should be, but we don't really trust him anymore. Is a good sharpshooting, good defender. I got another one, and this might be who you have left, but we can talk about Dalton Knecht again.
Oh, sweet.
Because here's something I realized. The team, I think, most clearly desperate enough to take DeAndre Ayton off our hands is the Los Angeles Lakers. What they are fiending for, Jackson Hayes started and played 9 minutes, and they were 9 god-awful minutes in that game, too, against Minnesota. They need a center, and I don't know exactly how it would work with Ayton's contract. They're probably looking for more like a Rob Will, right? It's again, this is why it's probably impossible to even talk about any of these, because who can take DeAndre Ayton for $30 million? I don't know.
But dude, there are so many random big contracts out there that just can be used as waste.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be like a Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleba, something like that. Like, we'd have to take a bunch of crap back. Or
a third team who just wants to get rid of a big contract.
Yeah. But if Dalton Knecht was a piece of that in his shooting, I mean, I don't think he's the greatest defender, but I think I can see that his development has been bogged by being on this Lakers team, and that, shooting is all we need. You throw him off the bench to kind of, I mean, like I talked about with Jordan Hawkins, just kind of be a go out there and get yours, and we'll insulate you with Matisse Thybulle and maybe Chris Murray and defenders to kind of keep up this identity we have. But you're the guy, you can go shoot. Sure, Dalton Knecht, why not? If we can give up DeAndre Ayton for anything to the Los Angeles Lakers, who might be the one team desperate enough to take him, give me Dalton Knecht.
I mean, I've been a Knecht head for ever since the draft last year. Before that, I've liked him for a while now. I think if he was on any team but the Lakers, he would be Rookie of the Year. Do you like that take?
That's a bit too bold for my take. Any team part, but
any team that was worse than the Lakers, any team that could have used him more, I guess, is a good way to put it.
I'll let you have that one. But
clearly, if he went to the Thunder, he would have gotten Rookie of the Year. He's a great shooter. He's a great ball handler. I love him. I think he's the best, dude.
I mean, I think honestly, he's
He's a poor man's Booker is how I see him. And I think he'd be an awesome six man on this team that clearly needs more shooting, clearly needs more ball handlers. Even though, when I say I think he's a great ball handler, I mean that for what he is. Obviously, he's not like an elite level ball handler, but for like a scoring, shooting guard, dude, there's another guy whose last name I don't remember how to fucking pronounce. Former college player of the year, Oscar
Tshiebwe?
Tshiebwe. Yeah, dude, Oscar Tshiebwe. Don't laugh at me. Do not laugh at Oscar Tshiebwe.
That's such a pull.
I know that's a pull, dude. Have you seen? I mean, I haven't had my eye on him for a couple of years because he was awesome in college. I mean, the reason he went
he's like the best rebounder ever.
He's like the best rebounder in the history of basketball.
Yeah.
The reason he hasn't been able to be on a team is because he's a bad pick and roll defender.
Yeah.
He's a 6'8" center who doesn't really have any other skills other than rebounding. And, I guess, honestly, from what I saw with the Jazz this year, because I don't know if you knew this, but he played huge minutes for the Jazz in the last, 20 games of the season. And because in the G League, he had, a 2-game stretch where he had, 60 and 40 over 2 games, got called up, and in, 16 minutes put up 8 and 9. And we're a team that is a rebounding first team. I would say that is the number one thing that sets us apart from other teams is how crash heavy we are on both ends. It's why Klingon made such a huge difference because he's a much better rebounder than DA, even though I know DA has the numbers. Rebounding percentage-wise, Klingon clears him. It's not even close. We're actually a worse rebounding team when Ayton's in the game. Can't think of a guy who would fit that better as just a 15 to 20-minute backup big to Klingon. And I understand he's not a great pick-and-roll defender, but, dude, I swear I watched Jazz games and his highlights. I thought he looked okay.
Yeah.
I think it would immediately make us, without a doubt, the best rebounding team in the NBA. And he's 6'8". I think he's more mobile than Klingon. I know he has slow feet, so it's or basically, I think he would be Cantor. He's averaging 18 rebounds per 36.
Yeah.
He is insane to watch. And that is in today's NBA, that is such an underrated skill. It's possessions, dude.
Yeah.
If you can get us more possessions, I don't care how you are as a pick and roll defender. And honestly, I don't know if he's going to be re-signed, so we probably just sign him.
I mean, you could probably get Oscar Tshiebwe for literally nothing if you wanted to.
Nothing.
Here's my last one. What if we got Marcus Smart?
Oh, dude, yes.
How
I think about this too.
Awesome would our defense be with Marcus Smart playing point guard?
Yes, and I know he's taken a step back, especially physically.
But it's because he's got absolutely bitch slapped by the Celtics. And I think anything that Marcus Smart has fallen off from is completely from a mental standpoint, and because he's
you think so?
Because he's just played from the grid, and I'm sure it's maybe a little bit more, but it's just he got kicked to the curb by the Celtics, who then went on to win the championship, and then got buried in a Grizzlies lineup by a bunch of other talented players, and then now is on the Wizards. He just he fully got curbed, and so I'm sure he doesn't look that great. That's why we can get him on the low, and if he comes in here and he leads this defense on the floor vocally, if we go Smart, Shaedon, Denny, Tumani, Klingon, that is a defensive wall.
Exactly.
With enough playmaking and good shooting on the floor.
Even if he's taken a step back defensively.
Yeah.
Which I think it's fair to say, because he's 31 and he's a guy who's played insanely aggressive physical defense his entire career. So it's fair to say that.
But I feel like people said that about Draymond, and now look at Draymond, right?
That's exactly right, dude. And the way he looked on the Wizards was he still kind of got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is a great.
If he got thrown onto our team, that is a defensive oriented team coached by Chauncey Billups on the way up. I think it would fire him up, and he would come all the way back. I think the only reason that it's a problem is because you're just throwing another point guard into this mess that we have already with Scoot and Ant and Shaedon to a kind of a lesser at the guard position. So adding another guard who needs minutes is kind of a problem, but I just think his veteran presence could really be the thing to kind of push us right into the playoffs, and we would be so fun defensively with him on the court.
It makes so much sense, even if he does take a step back, and it looks like the deal of a lifetime if he can get back to something similar to what he used to be. Because like you said, he's been kicked to the curb a lot. It might be more of a mental thing. And a Marcus Smart that doesn't have to be the best defender on the team anymore, that's huge. If he
Marcus
can be
Smart who doesn't have Tumani's gonna take the quickest guy on the court. Exactly. Marcus Smart is going to be off ball and guarding the third best player on the court.
Exactly.
Right? Like, he's going to be kind of free roaming and just commanding the defense and just telling these big wings where to go. And he's probably so good for Shaedon on that, like, to teach him defensively too.
Oh yeah.
I think it would be awesome, and I think the only reason we can't do it is because we're stuck to Anthony and Scoot.
Would you rather see Scoot and Marcus Smart, or would you rather see Ant and Marcus Smart?
Oh,
because dude,
can you imagine Scoot learning from Marcus Smart would be pretty fun.
But like, yeah.
Because I think Scoot has the ability to get there defensively. Maybe.
That's something a lot of people said, and that's saying that Scoot can be a defensive player of the year.
Okay, maybe not to Marcus Smart level, but like to a defensive, like
a really good a
defensive
agreed.
plus.
100%.
Because I think the reasons that he's not looking that way so far,
he's kind of built like him,
right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like the reasons he's not looking like that so far are all up here, kind of like a lot of his offensive problems, right? Like I think maybe his defensive ceiling is as high as his offensive ceiling. Is that crazy to
higher,
see?
Dude.
Yeah. Well, hope you guys liked those mock trades. Let us know if you liked any of them, which one you liked. Maybe if you hated all of them. Say I hate all of those players. I have 10 other players. You should actually look at. We will read them. Appreciate
we'll embrace debate.
And also like the banter you guys have been throwing in the comments. Really good.
Oh, I love
Blazer talk. We read those. Trust me, we do. So keep them coming. But yeah, we appreciate y'all. Let's keep talking Blazers even while we're watching these other teams play in the playoffs.